Welcome to Academy of Tone 131, correct?
131 indeed, yes.
Yeah, and we had a few guitars over this backing track of the last
We did.
7 minutes or what? Thanks for handing me a variety of different price classes.
Yes, indeed. Different models, different prices, different generations.
Yeah, so this is a 1960 neck, all original hardware Fender, all original, just the body is refinished. This used to be my number one Strat for years. And, no, sorry, my number one replacement Strat for years. My real 61 is here, so, and this is kind of my spare guitar, or used to be my spare guitar. But as you can hear, I can be very happy with cheaper instruments as well. And therefore, we thought it is worth talking about options.
Yes.
And one option is, well, we have the cheapest guitars on the planet. Maybe not the very cheapest, but very cheap guitars.
Yeah, we started with one of the very cheapest, which either of us owns, I guess. This is a Harley Benton SC Junior, so a Les Paul Junior style. New, these cost less than 200 euros.
Yeah.
So
you brought this with you.
I brought this with me, yeah. I actually bought this used from a guy in Saarbrücken here.
Yeah,
for like 120 euros or something like that. So very, very cheap.
And this was the first guitar I played over that backing track. And well, if you don't know I can make music with this kind of instrument, you know. So I don't know how you feel when you're listening to, the jam I've done. Could you hear or tell or feel the differences when I play the instruments? How important was the tone changes, or how, was it that much, or was it like, doesn't matter?
Well, if you take the juniors as an example, you started with this, and then you moved to a 1956 Gibson Les Paul Junior.
My beloved, this one.
This one here, which is probably worth
a lot.
How many thousands of euros?
I don't know yet, but I bought it when they were a lot cheaper than today.
Yeah.
All this stuff went up in prices, and I bought it like 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
20 years ago.
But let's say these days, if you get one for 5,000 of this model, you're probably very lucky.
Very lucky.
That's my guess.
Yeah, this is more like 10 by now.
Yes.
But this is this is like the real deal.
Yeah.
And this is the cheapo.
Yeah, and even like a standard 2022 Gibson Les Paul Junior would be like 2,500, 3,000 euros, maybe something like this. Maybe a bit less because it's a junior, but this is about 10% of the price.
Yeah.
Is a real Gibson 10 times better? That's the ultimate question.
Absolutely.
And there's a very interesting comment that I've seen already with someone saying, the proof is that a great sound depends on who's playing. And amp one.
Of course.
Of course amp one, but yeah. A lot of it is in the fingers.
Yeah, of course. And therefore, the point for me is, how do I feel? My feeling translates more than anything else. And if the instruments makes me feel great, this is more quality I can deliver in a way. And if it has nothing to do with the price. I mean, the price, it needs to play right, it needs to sound right, and then it feels right. And we can get a low budget guitar even kind of in that zone.
Yeah.
And then you come to the point where you once set your mind to, I accept it, I'm not looking for my Gibson original logo. You can't see that anyhow, because it's like, can you see that on a Fender actually when you play it? But I have to see later on. I mean, it's like when you play this kind of guitar, I don't see Gibson here. I just see that old guitar. And it's a great guitar, and it makes me feel good, and I love to play that guitar. This is why I bought it, and it sounds great, and it has been used in the studio a lot. But hey, if I had this as a second guitar, or if I had this one even, I could play a gig. It's totally giggable. Fine. Yeah. Of course, myself, being a professional guitar player with a long history, I shouldn't be with the cheapest guitar on stage.
Well, yeah, that is another question. And it's interesting with Harley Benton because they're so, everywhere right now.
Yeah.
I think the one place that you don't yet see them is on stage with a wide variety of respected professional musicians. I mean, there are some, but I think that's the last kind of area where Harley Benton hasn't yet penetrated.
Well, I mean, these guitars are manufactured, I guess, in China. It's
Indonesia.
Indonesia. See,
yeah.
okay. Indonesia is probably a great country for guitar manufacturing too. As some of the vintage are manufactured in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Actually, in Vietnam.
In Vietnam.
Yeah, and this is
I can
this
check.
is like this is what this one. Does it say anything? Well, Rich is checking.
Nope.
Doesn't say anything.
Nope.
Yeah. Well,
You see the other one? No mention.
It's the same. Oops, sorry. So, but here's another point. When I have a good amp tone that is, giving me a lot of overtones, it doesn't matter if the guitar is that good. So it still is a difference if the guitar is good. But when the amp provides like 50% of the tone, the difference is kind of shrinking. There are some tones where you can listen a lot more of the wood of the guitar. And then if the guitar is kind of a little bit weak, muffly, or doesn't react as fast as you like to have it, then you feel kind of the instrument doesn't help me.
Yeah.
Some horsepowers, I would describe it, are missing. But if you have a little bit more gain, I engage the boost here and I'm good to go because the overtones are there. And any of the guitars was okay. There was not a single guitar in this jam that I thought couldn't be used at all.
Yeah. Well, that is one of the big differences between cheaper guitars and more expensive or vintage guitars. In fact, on lots of modern affordable guitars, you get this thick poly finish.
Yeah.
This thick lacquer, which is, if you want to refinish the guitar, it's a pretty hefty job to physically get it off. It's very difficult.
Fender used to do that in the 80s as well.
Yeah.
I had one of those. And I mean, if you have like a mark for it, it makes like, it's nearly undestroyable. Or, with this nitrocellulose lacquer, it's very thin. And this is why it crackles so beautifully. I mean, if you're a vintage guy, you love that look. It's a personal taste. This kind of shiny guitar, I think you can do almost anything with it and it will still be shiny, because the lacquer is thick and if there's a problem, you polish it again and, I wish my car would have been lacquer like that. And my scratches, I could remove them easily, But BMW, I tell you, they have, in German, it's called Orangenhaut. The lacquer is not even so even. I'm not driving the biggest one. I have a 3 Series. And for the experts, this guitar has a better coating than my BMW. Anyway, just little side mark.
Do you think that nitro finishes and thinner coat finishes let the guitar breathe more? Is that something you believe in?
Yeah.
There's a lot of online debates about tone woods, and some people sit in the I believe camp, and some people sit in the I don't believe camp.
Yeah. And this
what about you?
Well, I do believe because I have experimented with it. And when it comes to Strats, I've been to any combination. I mean, this, what is it, polyester or what poly?
Yeah, the
Poly something. Yeah.
Yeah. We just say poly, don't we? And I've forgotten the word. But
yeah, same here. Thick lacquer versus thin lacquer.
Someone will tell us.
Oh yeah, please. And and the nitrocelluloses, and then even I believe that a relic guitar sounds different from a non-relic guitar. Why can I tell? Because I have tons of blue guitars in different makings, and I played them in different phases. I played like prototypes with the same pickups without any color on it, the same hardware, and then after a straight lacquer, and then even after this distressing process a little bit. But hey, we are talking the last, whatever, 5%, 3%, or not very, not so important. But it all adds up to the perfect guitar.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all aiming at. And we have to be realistic about that. If we can kind of downplay everything in the way of, it doesn't matter, which is fine. It's an attitude. And if you are fine with that attitude, you are happy. If you're happy, you play great. If you play great, and then you can play on a Besenstiel, what is it, a witch thing with a witch.
Oh, the
Yeah.
my vocabulary terrible tonight. Polyurethane. We've got that.
Polyurethan in German.
Polyurethane.
Polyurethane. Yeah.
That's why we say poly, because it's easier to.
Yeah.
'Cause it's easier to say.
Yeah, and you know the thing that you have to kehren. Was ist denn das? Oh fucking hell. Whatever, and it is a matter of how you feel. This is what my conclusion, and I believe that. Well, I believe, and I think I have tested enough in my life to be able to tell a few, maybe not all, but the most parameters that affect tone in the guitar. And a lot of that is not even in the wood or in the pickups. It can also be in the electronics. And most guys never pay attention to that. So if you have a muffly Strat, for instance, if the volume pot is like 230K, it says 250, which it should be, but the tolerance is there. And if you have like a 230K, the whole peak, which gives the pickup the character, is flattened. And thereby the whole guitar sounds like more for humba dance music, or for country, but not country, the German Schlager sound, which is not my dark and woolly and boring, no exciting sparkleness of a Strat. And this is only the tolerance of the potentiometer.
Yeah.
If you're a little bit aware of these factors, you can even tweak your guitar. If it's too bright, you have a smaller value. Like maybe you can check it. It's easy with an ohm meter. You measure from with the two probes, whatever, the things that you.
Yeah, we're doing bad on the vocabulary tonight. Apologies.
Yeah, and then. You can see that 250 kilo ohm potentiometers today really vary. In the old days, some people didn't care about, and this is why the guitars sound different. But then there was a phase where the boutique builders kind of selected them all to have them perfect and stuff like that. But anyway, the electronics does a lot more than most people think. And then the other thing that costs nothing, just time, is a proper setup job.
Yeah.
If the guitar is lousy, the way it's set up, there is no tone because you're losing the potential. What's going on in the chat? There's a lot of broomstick, whatever that is.
Yeah, they're saying broom because that's when you were saying kehren, that's to sweep with a broom. But I don't think that was the word you were looking for. I think you were talking about like a... You know those T-chest bass instruments that they used to play back in the 60s or whatever, where it would be like a box with a broom handle attached to it with strings and you'd play that?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And someone says you can play on a shovel too, which is true.
Yeah, the shuffle. I mean, we are talking.
Justin Johnson is very famous for his
Absolutely.
shovel guitars.
If you don't know Justin Johnson, type in Justin Johnson and Thomas Blug, and you see me gigging, not gigging, having great jams with my Summer of Love in Nashville. Justin Johnson is the shuffle king. I mean, not the shuffle king, but the shuffle king and slide.
Yeah.
Nice
Yeah.
guy, great guy.
Yeah, he's great. Another interesting question that takes us slightly off topics, just slightly, but someone mentioned when they look at young guitar players playing today, it seems that most of them are turning towards Ibanez as a brand, as opposed to the traditional Gibson and Fender. Do you agree with that? And is that something you see as well? And if so, why would you say that that could be?
Well, I think Ibanez is a very strong company as a company, and they they kind of still fight for the market, which they always have done, like with artists like I remember back in the days when George Benson GB10, GB20 jazz guitars came out from Ibanez. Then there was the whole Steve Vai thing, Satriani, which gave Ibanez a super Strat image, being one of those besides Chevelle and other brands. But Ibanez, made a big statement in the market. And these days they try to get into the classic guitar market, as Paul Reed Smith, with the Silver Sky.
Yeah.
It's like a Strat style guitar. But the new Ibanez, they have roasted maple necks, and they're pretty good quality instruments. My personal problem with Ibanez is somehow the instruments never got me. Weird things, for instance, like Music Man, high quality guitars, killer guitars. I'm not saying these guitars, but they are maybe too perfect for me. Like Paul Reed Smith too. I had a Paul Reed Smith because my friend and colleague, I was his fan for a long time, and still am. Geoffrey Whitehorn, he was the Marshall demonstrator. I was next door, and he played, and then he had a Paul Reed Smith, and I bought one too because of him. And then I had it for like 3 years, and it's like, no, it's not my kind of thing. It's neither a proper Strat nor a Les Paul. So, and this is, I want to have, and the Paul Reed Smith was just too good. It was not exciting to me. There was no marks in the tone, like unperfections things, and maybe some notes were kind of very rewarding when you got them. This was kind of too even. It's like every note you play is very similar, very balanced. And me coming from a Strat, it's like a Strat is not that balanced. And this was never my approach. It's more like I want that character, which is certain things that are exciting. And Paul Reed Smith is very good quality, but doesn't get me. It's too perfect. That's, I don't know what to complain about. There's nothing to complain. You can pick up such a guitar. The setup job is spot on, and there's nothing you can complain when you play that guitar. I think like, yeah, this sounds good, but that complex tone, I call that noise, because noise is a mixture of frequencies. It's not my taste, even though it's great.
Yeah. So you think maybe people picking up the guitar today, they want to pick up an Ibanez because maybe it's a more forgiving guitar as well, because of that perfection, and it's more stable than a Strat to get used to. You don't have to fight it as much.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's the reason.
Yeah, and it does help younger players because you know, the energy and whatnot is there whenever you think of it. It's easier. It's simply easier. But I'm old school, and I want to fight for my note.
Yeah.
My one note.
Yeah, I guess the other thing is as well, which is a topic for a totally different live stream, is the artists who play them.
Yeah.
And when I think about today, who are the bands who are inspiring young players the most? I'm thinking about people who are big on social media. I'm thinking about bands like Polyphia, for example.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with those guys. They play Ibanez. They have
Yeah,
Ibanez signature
sure,
models. And
sure.
Chica Nito or whatever on YouTube.
And I grew up in
These are Ibanez guys.
Yeah, I grew up where my idols didn't have Ibanez. You
Yeah.
know, the first old school guy that played something Japanese or Far Eastern was Santana with the Yamaha when he switched from his SG or Gibson from the early records to something in the 70s.
Yeah.
And that was something, yeah, this was the beginning of this whole process. So what is this? The old Dimasio pots was, what does CGE means? I used the old pot CGE. Can somebody explain?
Lex says Ibanez guitars have no mojo.
Mojo.
I guess
yeah.
that's what
Yeah, maybe that's
what you were referring to.
I'm all in for mojo. I mean, this is why I love my beaten up vintage guitars with the crackles on the back of. I mean, does it feel good? I don't know. It is what it is. You know, when just feel the back.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's weird in a way. You know,
Yeah.
all the crackles on.
But it's played in, you know, that guitar,
Yeah.
the neck is naturally to the shape of your hand almost.
Yeah.
After decades of playing it.
And refretting. You know, those guitars that I own, they are all player guitars.
Yeah.
So if you refret a guitar, it's a refretted guitar. I prefer a refretted guitar to any guitar that is like new. And even on my signature models and my original guitar, it's all refretted. This is all original. Where is it? My vintage, the one that I played. This is all original. Original frets. Yeah, this one. This is 100% as you get it in the shop. And I have another one which is over there, which was the prototype of that guitar. Oops, sorry. And this, of course, was, this has been refretted, and there's a lot of small changes. Pass me this one. And therefore, this guitar feels very good in my hands. Okay. Here I can show you the difference in this guitar here. The other vintage. And now the original.
So this prototype here has no relicking or anything like that, right? It's just...
Well, this prototype, yeah, this was not relic. No?
Yeah.
So this is the real deal, and now I explain what I like about my original guitar. So I try to play. See, there's nothing wrong about that guitar, but to me, the original speaks more. Let me show you what I mean. The dynamic I can get with this is like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, I love my guitar.
So the question is,
Yeah,
if you buy one of these,
yeah.
how can you get it to be more dynamic? How can you make it sound closer to this?
Okay, hand me the other one because there are other pickups in there.
So this one has the stock
Yeah. And-
Wilkinsons?
and-
Oh no, this is your 61. I'm super confused now.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
stock Wilkinson.
Stock
all
Wilkinsons.
original.
And this says Wilkinsons on it, but it's not Wilkinsons, is it?
Exactly. This is a Blug set by Kloppmann
Yeah.
in that guitar, but all the rest hardware is the same. Listen to the. The dynamic comes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then when you. The twang is something else you can look for, but this has nothing to do with pickups because we are already there. I show you a BluGuitar which uses the same pickup but a different hardware. Hello. For me, the kind of twang, the definition of the note, like is more than on the vintage. Well, this is why you pay 2,000 more if you get one. But this is kind of the real deal. I show you a real 1960 that I spent 10 years with to get this to sound like this one, and it still doesn't. It's not a bad guitar, but it's one louder. No, it's one better.
So what did you do to the 60 to get it sounding closer to the 61?
You know, I started with that neck because that neck is the best Strat neck coming close to this one that I ever have seen. It's an original 1960 Fender neck. And when you look, it's so stiff. 40, my potentiometer is kind of old. It's so hard to bend the guitar, which is a sign that the wood is very strong. And you can hear when you, this is a top neck.
Do
So-
you know whether they were using different types of maple or different neck production processes between 60 and 61?
I don't know, but I from the necks that I could buy back in the day, this was on kind of a parts caster, and I kept the neck. I sold the body with back 20, 30 years ago. You know, I bought a lot of vintage Strats, and then I sold the 64 neck with that 60 body and stuff like that, and kind of like a Eric Clapton Blackie story, kind of, you know, swapping parts to make one better one.
Yeah.
And
One big difference that I feel like I can see on that neck there,
yeah,
and maybe you can turn it over so the guys can see it, is it looks like someone sanded that neck down. It looks
Yeah.
much more satin than your
Yeah.
61, and I wonder how much of a difference that makes.
well, it feels different. This neck is pretty narrow here, so that's coming close to it. I didn't do it. I got that neck or that guitar with that neck as it is. I didn't change anything there besides refretting.
Yeah.
So it is not so different from the dimensions. But the guitar, it took me, I think, 4 bodies to find the right body. And this is not even the Fender body. The Fender bodies that I had before, they didn't match the neck, like the resonance of the neck and the body was so unlucky in a way that there was the guitar was thin. And therefore, I was always constantly looking for bodies. And I sold that body with another neck that made actually more sense. That was a happy combination. But that neck needed that body. And that's actually a body from Andreas Kloppmann, friends. And then I was like, oh, let me see this body, tried it out, and there was the tone.
Yeah.
So this is all that stuff that you can. But here's the point: when you're after that twang definition, that comes, of course, from the pickups, blah blah blah. But it comes a lot from the hardware. And these olds, this is the original Fender block, is cold rolled steel, shallow holes. You can see the ball ends here, like being very high.
Yeah.
No? So if you compare that, maybe we can show to the camera. Do we have a close-up? Yeah, here, 2 Strats. Hoo-hoo. So look
This
at...
is the true nerdy stuff right here.
Yeah. So these holes here are shallow, and the material is cold rolled steel, and this gives you a big mass, and that's good for the twang. Okay. And now we can compare to something like this. On the BluGuitar, we have done the copy of that. Again with the master of vintage, who is Trevor Wilkinson, and that's now the year 1 hardware, which I talked him into doing. And when you look at the vintage guitars, they do have actually a block that is also pretty massive, but the material is not the cold rolled steel. And then we show you that gold Strat, because then you can see what people are doing to save money, to save big money. It's not so. Look at this block. Ha ha ha. There's no mass. It's a tiny block compared to the vintage. See how big the vintage is? The black block on the vintage versus that tiny block on the gold guitar. And this is saving material, you know?
Yeah.
It's like half of it.
Yeah.
And And the ball ends are, you don't even see them.
Nope.
They're all the way down. And this is all to save material, and this is all to save cost. Okay, but we are talking about what are the differences and how important they are. We could hear maybe not that much. But now I'm in the nerdy zone, trying to explain why a nerd like myself goes down that way there. All the way. And maybe you shouldn't. That's another
Yeah,
point.
I think at some point, I think it becomes like the law of diminishing returns. You get 90% of the way there, and suddenly you're in this zone where to find those last few percentage points of tone, you have to either make massive differences or find something else.
Yeah. And here another point is do a proper setting. I mean, you can't compare two guitars where the pickup is not the same distance to the string. You know, I mean, part of my tone is also the way I set up the guitar. And just by looking at this, I could improve. Hold for a sec. I just grab the cable. Maybe I show you how to improve that cheapo Strat.
William Lee says he prefers big brass blocks or zinc. Squire guitars have a tiny block, he says.
Yeah.
But Dizzy, he just got a Player Plus, a Fender, made in Mexico, and the tremolo block is also pretty solid, pretty big.
Yeah.
So
and the kind of material you can actually hear. Why? Because the block, the metal has a resonance. And if it's cold rolled steel, it's probably a different frequency in the resonance versus a whatever material that is not as dense, things like that. Okay, you know what? Let me show you. I would raise that bridge pickup because what I do is, okay, explain the theory. When the bridge pickup is the closest to the bridge here, which means we have the most overtones, because the further away from the bridge, the more, the less overtones and the more, what is it, root note fundamental frequency. So, and the other effect, just listen to this, is the closer the pickup to the string, the rounder it sounds, the more bass it has. So let's memorize this kind of. I go back just to compare. So having this side of the pickup close to the strings makes this tone big. It's instant improvement for me. Costs nothing.
do you have any specific measurements that you would recommend for, millimeters away from the strings for people?
See, my 2mm pick is pretty, it's about 2.1 millimeters, or make it 2 millimeters, something like that. Well, it depends also on how hard you dig in and how, so you shouldn't have the pole piece touching the string. That's way, it needs to, this, let's say 2 and some millimeters, 2 point something is ideal on a Strat.
Yeah.
On this side, because this one is further away from the string, the low E string, and that's okay. I show you why. If I would raise that now, I would have too much bass.
Yeah.
So. me. Middle position. I show you how a good middle pickup sounds like on my BluGuitar.
Do you remember where you bought this guitar, by the way? We have people asking.
No, this
They
was
want to buy one.
This was given by my friend Robert Volpatti, who worked for the guys at the Memory, and he gave me that gold guitar just to have a like a trophy. You need a gold guitar. I like the look. I mean, it is a weird thing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
Dimavery or
Yeah.
Dimavery is the brand name for anyone looking.
Yeah. Okay, just compare now the middle pickup. I'm on the middle pickup. These strings are very old, but you can listen to the middle pickup. Very bassy and not as woody mid-rangey. So at first impression, it sounds pretty good. I go back to this. This is a touch. To me, that's not as fat in a nice way. That's what I want from middle pickup. Next position is neck, and this is again something on the Strat. It needs to talk, and it needs to be open in a way. Nothing to complain about. Wow, the cheapo sounds pretty good. It sounds a bit artificial though, because you know the high end is a bit hi-fi. But I can live with that neck pickup. Fat, but I mean, it's like has this bright high end. The trick about the guitars is when the mid range is focused and the mid range is kind of in a kind of together with the rest, and maybe a bit more in focus. It's easier to cut through, and it's always simple to get rid or to kind of blow up the with amp more bass with whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's not there, you could use an EQ or you could use something like a tube screamer, which people did to get that focus back.
Yeah.
So that's an option if your guitar doesn't have that focus.
Yeah.
But to me, the ideal guitar has always that the mids are in the right place and the rest is there, but not over present.
Yeah. How much time do you think someone should spend kind of with the heights of the pickups or thinking about replacing pickups, or should they focus on other things if they want to make their cheap guitar sound more expensive?
Since it doesn't cost much, it just costs time. For you guys, I would simply experiment. But here on this BluGuitar, you can definitely tell this is very close.
Yeah.
This is pretty far, you know. And this again is way far away, more far away than this one.
Yeah.
Because the vibration here, the way the string vibrates, would give too much energy to the neck pickup otherwise. That's the way I like it.
Which camera am I even looking at here? Is it that one? Yeah. maybe you guys can see it. But on the neck pickup, on the thick E string, the low E string, I'd say it's almost 5 millimeters, the gap between the pole piece and the strings.
And here you can see on this side, this is like nothing. This is like, on this guitar, it's like the pick doesn't even get underneath. See, it holds the pick. Yeah, you can flip it around. It's maybe a touch, but this I know how to play that guitar without having the problem. So with this pickup and this kind of close thing, I have my tone.
Yeah, yeah.
I do the same on the original and the Fenders and blah blah blah. Yeah, gold guitar. So, what sounds like Gilmore Law? Yeah, of course. Somebody's Brent Mason. Yeah, I should listen more to the Nashville style. But hey, let's
look at some tellies.
Tellies. Okay, so this is my good old fake Fender telly, which is not a Fender, but looks like one. Okay, that's the bend.
The Jerry Donahue bends.
Yeah, behind the nut net. Oh man, Jerry, such a great bender.
Yep.
Okay, let's try. This is
The Harley Benton.
Benton, a bend, another bend.
Another bender, yeah.
Yeah. For me, the guitar is fine, fantastic, no problem. The only thing that I'm not so happy with is it's not a vintage radius. It's flatter.
It's a much flatter, more modern feeling neck, isn't it?
Which makes the guitar easier in production because there's no problem with like dead notes when you bend.
Yeah.
You know, so you can bend wherever you want it. If you know how to play a modern flat radius, if that's your style, that's not a point. For me, loving that old vintage radius, it's not my feel. Sound-wise, for that kind of music, fine. Okay, but this is hard on any. So, and that's the 67. I think that's the noise that you want from a telly.
Yeah.
You know? So sounds like a cowboy. So this is why I bought that guitar. This is the best telly that I ever owned. I'm lucky. Yeah, now you can hear it.
And again, what would you recommend to someone who had something like this? You know, this is a 180 euro maybe telly type to get it more into that ballpark. What can you do?
Well, I can try and change. what happens. Just let me play it again, if I can improve anything, or maybe not. Let me try to raise that pickup for a second. Okay, I do something that we can remember. I do 1, 2 turns. 1 and 1 more here. 2, 3 turns. Okay, now I have 5. To raise the pickup a touch was getting both guitars closer. I mean, this has flat pole pieces, this is staggered pole pieces,
Yep.
blah, blah, blah. So by nature, there are differences but with this kind of, I think this has brought both guitars a bit closer.
Uh-huh.
That's one thing. We also could try a pedal, like one of your, whatever, Timmy. The Timmy. Shall we try
Timmy,
this?
yep. This is the MXR Timmy, so the one which is actually widely available.
And not expensive?
No,
which
it's
is
the official collaboration between Paul Cochran, who makes the Timmy pedals, and MXR, Jim Dunlop. And I think it's sub €200, $200. So
Yeah.
not super cheap, not super expensive, but
Jim Dunlop. What a nice guy. I mean, I know his son, and I still met, I remember when I met Jim Dunlop in person on a trade show in northern UK, in whenever that was. And we had a pint of whatever, because he's originally from that, and then he emigrated to the US. And he told me his story. Nice. Great guy.
was that the JHS event?
No, it was
No?
some whatever northern guitar show
Ah.
kind of thing. It was one of those very British events where, you could go check out the guitars, and there was the pub kind of in the venue with all the carpet, and when you were walking, a bit sticky wherever you went, because how it is. They like the beer glasses full, no foam, and yeah. Wait a minute, how to get... okay, I get this out, and I put that in here, which is the output, and I put that in here. No, I put that in the guitar, and I put this in the Timmy, after midnight. So, okay, I put this maybe on top of the amp or whatever. So I have to find a setting here. So why I'm asking for the Timmy is I want something that is like a mild overdrive that doesn't give me a lot of changes. So let's go back with the gain a bit and see what the Timmy does. Less bass is so, and there's treble, and there's the magic. Here's the magic in the mids and upper stuff. And I'm actually not that much interested in clipping. So at this gain level, it's not even important. something to see if that's what I want. Bypass. So now I switch off the Timmy and play that guitar. No? If I put the Timmy on top of this, I have too much of the mid honk. Not needed. This guitar. Back to this one. Too warm, too muffly. And now with the Timmy, a bit more treble, a touch. Versus. It's a bit artificial, it's now too much, but not be careful towards that direction of a bit more openness and a bit more mid-focus. As I said before, this is the quality of the vintage instruments, why people talk and rave about the old wood that is dried and blah, 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 and the magic in the pickups. But this is, and this gets you halfway there. And as we could also hear, there's a certain point where you can hear that it's fake. But when you just add a touch, you get something that you don't regret. And that there it is. One option. I mean, this is what I have done with many pedals. For instance, what about let's try the TC Spark, which is only a EQ. EQ without any. The good old Spark. So, I'm not sure if this has a battery. Maybe it does. That's what we find out when we plug in. So this is the out. Which can you hold it? Okay. Okay, can you get the Timmy input? And now, yes, it has battery, so we don't need my. So now I try only to get the frequencies. Because bypass. It's not about gain. It's more about this is only reducing bass at this point. A touch less bass. I mean, this was just a touch less bass does help.
Yeah.
Because treble is enough, mids are stable. Sometimes these nuances can help.
Yeah, and something like the Spark is very Very affordable, right?
Yeah, what is it, under 100 euros or maybe
Yeah.
100
No,
or...
I think under 100, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, any questions, guys? Throw some subs up. Yes, always. Poo Ninja,
Always.
thanks.
Subscribe as well if you
exact.
haven't.
Subscribe.
We always forget that.
Subscribe. I've never subscribed to the channel. So,
There was a question about lace sensor pickups. Any experiences with those? What your
Yep.
thoughts are?
I don't like them. Let's put it that way. The first lace sensor pickups, my hero Jeff Beck uses them, and he sounds fantastic with those pickups. But for me, this kind of sparkle thing, I show you my Strat again. You know what? I just get rid of the pedal so we can keep it simple and more puristic. There's my 61. Okay. So if you have that tone, on a bridge pickup, if I had lace sensors in that guitar, it would be flatter. And this is my ideal tone, the twang. So how to describe? This is the ideal Strat tone, my ideal Strat tone. It sounds like a twang, woody thing and dynamic. This is how to describe it. The only thing that I really like about adding to that tone is my replex. Maybe we can try that again by this. Now I need that cable again, this other one. Sorry. Okay. So I give you, wait a minute, I give you this side that goes to the input on the replex. Too many
old guitars.
Yeah.
Let's put that one there.
Okay. Input, and this goes to the output. So this should be bypass at the moment. So if you press reverb, that's now the tube only with nothing else. It's kind of a tube preamp. Makes the whole sound fatter, but I still have the twang. That's the thing. That's kind of a monster Strat. And that's my secret weapon, and has always been. And it goes so well with my combination of that twangy guitars. Yeah, it makes a Strat full as a Les Paul, but without sacrificing the Strat-tiness and the twang. Oh. Listen to that. I'm in heaven. No comment.
Can we hear that with the gold Strat? The same
Sure,
settings?
it will sound killer as well, because this reflex pedal is making every Strat sounding 10,000 more. Okay, let's see. This is like the
Bypass.
Can you go bypass one more time? It feels great too. That's the tube sponginess that is added to the like. Yeah, I have such a hammer. Yeah.
Perfecto de Castro in the chat.
Oh,
Say
hi.
hello.
Perfecto.
Rich
Nice
with
to
the
see.
cable action. Yep. He's impressed at how I managed to plug this in, I think. Thanks.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I have 4 of those, as I told you. I have 4
Yep.
reflexes.
Did you see Perfecto's Instagram video?
The latest one, I sent it to you. I haven't really.
He throws in a secret Thomas Blug lick. Yeah.
I think there's a. Maybe, or, we were trading a few licks back in LA, like this summer in June.
In June, yeah.
Yeah. And we have to do a follow up. Perfecto. I'm looking forward to this. Next, whatever opportunity we find it. Anyway, with my guitar, but I designed that pedal as well with that guitar, of course. So it's magic.
Abenteuer Guitar says if magnetic pull on the strings is too strong, stratitis,
Yes.
as he calls it, would you rather live with that or sacrifice tone for better intonation?
Well, I totally get what he says. The thing about my setup is, since that pickup is kind of close to the bridge, the mass of the string, where it's more critical, is towards the neck. So therefore, it doesn't hurt too much when you do it on the bridge pickup, the stratitis. But well, I'm more about tone, and of course, when the intonation gets out of control, you have to stop somewhere. But I'm not the intonation freak. Some people, when you play with such an instrument with a floating bridge, can you be an intonation freak at all? Maybe, maybe not. And one thing is, my hero Jeff Beck, he can play a guitar that is not even in tune because he has ears. And I try to do the same thing and react, even if the guitar is sometimes out of tune, to play it in the way that it sounds in tune.
Yeah.
That's only possible within a certain range, but I entered that challenge once you start with this kind of guitar approach.
Yeah. Ziggy says, what about your string settings? I always hear a little bit of snare from some of the strings touching the frets. It makes it a part of your tone.
Exactly. So what I'm doing is, like, when I play soft, it's clear and clean with no rattling. There's no rattling. But I have super heavy pick, but the G string, I like it. It's kind of a compressor in a way, and it gives me that kind of buzz noise or whatever string hits the fret noise. And so if I would put the strings higher, it would be too clean. I would miss that extra overtones coming from that touch. My style.
Yeah.
But there's people that like the strings a bit higher, and then they have, they have a different tone. They have a different touch, and that goes together. So that's the way I like it. Yeah, I've played some of the guitars that were too clean for me. It's not even the height that is hard for me to play. I can play guitars with a high action. No, it's that extra noise that I'm missing because I dig in and there is nothing. The tone is still clean. It's like, huh? Do I suck or what's happening? Nothing. It's like I want that scream. I want that extra, yeah. And therefore, that's the way I like it. If it's too close, like on the gold one, we have a little problem. I think the neck needs an adjustment. Wait a minute. I think it's too buzzy up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. This guitar, it was not even playable because it was like in this see-through case. And I thought, nobody ever played that guitar. So I thought today is the day the gold one has to go out of the case into the real world. But I can see my fingerprints all over. If you have such a guitar, you have to clean it. It looks disgusting. I like the dirt on this one, but this goes with this color. It's a different statement. But if you have a shiny guitar, you have to polish it.
Yep, that's true.
No?
Black guitars are the worst.
Oh yeah.
For that, yep.
It's like if you have perfect black clothes, you can see every hair, and it's like, not my style. Therefore, I like whatever. No, more casual.
Yes. Judge Groovy Man says, where is the replex in the signal chain to get this great tone?
Yeah, well, it's in just the next thing after the guitar. Guitar, replex, amp.
Into the front.
Into the front, yeah, old school. Because that kind of squashes the dynamic and gets like the tube overtone to it, or whatever the replex adds to it.
Yeah, and we're using it with the reverb on, but the reverb volume is down
it's
to nothing, so it is just doing the preamp thing.
It's just doing the this is the way how to get just the preamp.
Yeah.
The other settings I use for the delay, but I use it as a booster. It's on my pedal board anyway, and then it's a booster that I like to use, and the delay I like to use as well. But I would even like to have that pedal just as a booster.
Yeah. Udo says he has a rotosphere pedal. Can he get the same effect?
No, the rotosphere is a great pedal too, but it's a different tube stage. The rotosphere has two things. It's not possible to get a 100% neutral sound because the rotosphere is a Leslie emulator, and a Leslie speaker by itself has a certain coloration, even though there's a stop function, blah blah blah. But the coloration of it is different, and it's voiced after a Leslie speaker cabinet, which had that can you hold it? Which had that tube amp. Ugh. Let me show. This is a book from my past. And where is that Leslie? Oh my God. And we have a picture. Somewhere there is a picture. Somewhere there's a... here. So, oh my God. See, and here you can see why I'm not wearing... Which camera is it? This one. Not all the way black stripe. And see, this is a baby Daphne blue vintage Strat, and I believe that's my 1960 neck already. That's the neck from this guitar, and with another body. So this, projects like optimizing Strats go back for decades. And this is the original Leslie that we analyzed to make the Rotosphere. Yeah, anyway, another great pedal from my past. And here, it's been used by John Lord, the former keyboarder of Deep Purple, well, the original. Where? Da, da, da. I'm proud.
Did you see, by the way, that Deep Purple have changed guitar player recently?
I've been to the live concert.
Oh, okay.
And I met him. Yeah. Simon
McBride.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has replaced Steve Morse, who had to step away. Yeah.
Yeah. Simon is a Scottish guy. Is it Scottish or Irish?
I think he's Irish. Yeah.
Irish.
Yeah.
Sorry, mix it up. Irish guy. Yeah, we had a short, nice chat, and I asked him, of course, the question: how does it feel to step in the footsteps of this kind of, what is it, predecessors? What's the English word?
Yeah, predecessors. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, how much pressure does it put on you? And he said, the band members are fun, so, and he's doing a pretty good job. It's a tough gig, and I personally, I'm the single coil Blackmore fan forever, because blah blah blah. But Steve Morse was such a great guitar player too. I preferred Steve Morse in the Dixie tracks and his own stuff. The feel is different from every guitar player that plays in a band, of course. But Simon does a pretty good job. He has modernized the band a little bit, although I would personally prefer the vintage vibe of that band. And playing a Paul Reed Smith with an Angle amp is again perfect, but maybe too perfect. And that sounds to me more like Whitesnake-ish versus the Purple Mark II-ish, of course, or Mark III-ish. But hey, this is my 2 cents personal taste and fan of Deep Purple in rock. In the albums up to maybe Stormbringer with Ritchie. Not saying that there were some great songs after that, but they had a little different feel to it. And Steve Morse, killer, and but he turned that band into another version of Deep Purple. Every other guitar player. So this is why there's Mark III, Mark IV. They are now with Mark V, probably with this. Even Satriani played in that band.
Yeah.
And he played in Saarbrücken. He came here, I know the story, he came here by train with just a guitar case, and Dragan, the guy who promoted the gig back then, told me the story. He said, oh, Satriani was here, and this was his first ever gig with Deep Purple. And so, every guitar player has its own character and thereby changes the sound of the band. And but good job. And again, Don Airey is not John Lord. I mean, but Don Airey is Don Airey, a killer again, but not identical. It would be also boring to have somebody identical. And
Yeah.
you have not been there, but Don gave me his latest solo CD
Oh yeah. Okay.
with a killer track called Bach on the Water, where he plays like he plays Smoke on the Water Bach style, like a fugue, like a really classical thing. This is a grand piano kind of solo CD, sometimes with a jazz band, but a lot of solo playing and unbelievable keyboard player. So if you compare like Don Airey with John Lord, I would say John Lord was the inventor of that kind of organ playing, and Don is doing this fantastic, but Don has also another edge, being a spot on grand piano player, like serious, which John Lord wasn't that much. But hey, this is, you know, respect, respect, respect. The greatest of them all we are talking about. Chick Corea, Don Airey. I mean, that's how I see it from the rock perspective.
Yeah.
Of course, there are jazz players. We don't even go there. But in this world, people that know how to play a Hammond organ and the synthesizer and the piano. And so there's a little bit of different strengths in each personality. And the same goes with the guitar players.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, back to the guitar modding stuff, getting a cheap guitar better. You talked about how you like to refret all of your necks.
Yeah.
So if you were to refret, let's say a guitar like this, and also to change the nut, what kind of frets would you put on there? What kind of nut would you use? What material would you recommend, and so on?
Well, for me, it's the Dunlop 6105 medium jumbos. They are a little wider than the standard vintage frets, and they are actually a lot taller, higher, which is making bending for me a lot easier. Well, and my fretboard here is even worn out, so it's even more tall. And two reasons for that: it lasts longer, it makes bending easier, and yeah, I like the fret sound. I had like stainless steel frets before these. They lasted for quite long, but they sounded a little bit too cold. I can hear that. So that's the frets. And actually, I put the same frets even on Les Pauls. There's nothing about wrong about the real big jumbos, but there's a certain twanginess that comes more with the 6105s.
Yeah.
That's why I like them. I like the good old traditional bone nuts. They have to be cut in the right way. Somebody has to spend some time doing that in a perfect way. Why? Because then the string stays kind of in the Kerbe, what's the English word? In the
Slot.
slot, yeah. And it's not too high, so when you kind of move your hand down the neck, it's like, you know, sometimes when they are too edgy, it's like, ouch, like this one, you know. This here, I don't feel it. It's kind of, I can even go over the strings behind the net for bending, stuff like that. It's like, it's not even really there, no. So it's round and the right height, the you know, the right depth in the cut. So that's what I like. There is graphite and other materials, great, but I'm old school, and it sounds actually. This is a traditional sound, and it's more money probably and more work, but you do this only once. And the good thing about the bone nut is when you have an issue, you can always cut new and then with the sandpaper, you can get a little of that dust, by sanding it in the cut. And with super glue, you can kind of make it flat again and cut it new. Have all the options, last forever.
Yeah. Is a bone nut something you would put on yourself?
I've done that, but to be honest, there's people that do it more often.
Yeah.
And like Andreas Kloppmann is my guitar guru. I trust him more. Or Andreas, another Andreas, was doing it on the other Les Paul. There are people, I trust people, I look on their work, and then I can tell you if I like what they do, and then they do it better than myself.
Yeah.
They do it every day. They're super luthiers, and it's this kind of things is more for unless you feel that is something for you that you want to spend some time with, and you can experiment with cheap guitars, and when you have some experience, you can go for it. But with these guitars, I want to have somebody with all the experience as a starting point. I've done things in my teenager years with this guitar. Luckily, I didn't destroy it, but yeah.
Yeah, with stuff like a refret, for example, you can do a lot of damage if you don't do that right. Yeah.
So soldering iron, the frets glued in, kind of thing. If you don't have that, you damage your fretboards easily. And like my frets are glued in with super glue or something like wood glue.
Yeah.
And if you don't heat them up, the glue connects to the wood, and then you rip off your whole fingerboard, and this is the end of it.
Yeah.
No? So that's a job for somebody with patience for surgery and a good soldering iron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what about if you start out with a guitar like this, or with a cheap Squire, or with a Harley Benton or something like that?
Yeah.
You've got a guitar that costs, $150, $200, $300, euros, whatever. How much money and time do you think it's worth putting into a guitar like that to improve it? Because if you put new frets in, if you change the pickups, if you put better tuners in, get someone to set it up, you're at the next budget level where you could probably afford to buy a Mexican Fender, for example.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the point is, if you are totally happy with that guitar, it's like, if that is the guitar you grew up with and you feel like home, it's like, I love that guitar. Then you can stick with kind of what you've got as a foundation and put some extra money into that. But you have to know there is kind of a natural limit. You can put 10 times more expensive pickups in there, and then you can change the hardware, and then in the end, what is left is maybe your fretboard radius, and so that gets out of proportion, and therefore, if you really like that guitar, for instance, you have not the cheapest one. On a cheap one, I would stay also in the improvements in a certain budget range that matches the whole thing. So if you have some good pickups around, you don't have to buy like real PAF pickups for 8,000 to put it into your Harley Benton. It will improve the tone, yes, it will. But you know what I mean? It's like if you have a decent copy by, Wilkinson does pretty good. Trev's new humbuckers are really good. I'm impressed. He packages on my way. It's on its way. We just spoke this morning, and they are affordable. And to find something that is where when the guitar costs 200 and the pickups cost like 200 totally, and that's your main guitar, go for it. But I wouldn't invest like 1,000 in pickups for such a guitar.
Yeah.
if the guitar is 500, 600, 800 euros, you can step up also in the improvement things. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But of course, there's always exception to rule. If you have the magic combination, you know, and that's the magic thing, and the only thing you're missing is a PAF in the Harley Benton, go for it. That's art, you know?
I wonder how many people have done that.
Yeah.
That's a YouTube video waiting to be made, somebody, if you're
Oh, yeah.
if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah. The thing about the PAF pickups back in the days when there was not, you know, that kind of, oh, it's a PAF pickup, you know, they were around because they were on old guitars. And some people thought, oh, they sound pretty good, and they drilled them in a Strat body like Eddie Van Halen, you know, with like not even the scratch plate, you know, like with a drill or whatever. Oh, it works. Soldering iron. God, this other pickup doesn't work. Doesn't matter. I need one pickup anyway. Or maybe I make it a little bit hotter, take it apart, put some extra winding on top of it, or have it rewound and have all the magic PF parts, whatever. You know, who cares? And this is how it was back in the 70s and early 80s. There was not kind of, oh, this is an original PF. Now I have to pray to open the box, you know, smell, pay. They were not the cheapest pickups, but they were still available. And if your granddaddy had a 59 Les Paul with a PAF, well, you got it out, because who cares about a 59 Les Paul back in 1978 when everybody wanted to be like Eddie Van Halen? Yeah. So,
Another question.
yeah.
Where's it gone? Thomas, what's best for optimizing the tuning stability of a vintage style vibrato system? I mean, surely you
Yeah.
have many experiences with
Yes.
this one.
I have actually done a whole episode on this Academy of Tone, one of the very early ones, number 3 and stuff. But I can say it more. Okay, the first thing is you have to decide what's happening with your tremolo or vibrato system. In my case, it's a floating setup, which means I can, you know, pitch down and up. And my reference point is the G string goes up a minor third. So, and then the B string goes up a whole note, like 2 frets. And the high E string is only like half step. And thereby, you can even play intervals. It's like, so see, this is whole step, half step. So, the point is, if you decide to have that, you lose the contact of the plate with the wood. It is only the screw necks and the edge of the vibrato plate. The block is where the strings go through, and this is the mass. But okay, that's the one thing. If you have more springs and make it flat, you get a different tone. Some people love it. I'm a fan of the floating thing. Just not only just because of the intonation stuff and tuning things and doing that whammy bar thing, also because of the tone. The tone is different. Wait a minute, where are we? I grabbed that cable. Sorry. So you can do the whammy bar thing.
Yeah.
And the tone is, I would say, a little softer. And that's what I like about it. And it makes my guitar more vocal versus fixed bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, if you do that, how to get the tuning stability? The first thing I do is like the middle screws, I raise them so the what is it called, the top of the screw, the head, the screw head is not touching the bottom plate, and only the outer screws are touching the bottom plate in the all the way down position. So what I do is, without strings and without the springs, I put it all the way down and I lift the inner screws when it's kind of here, that the top of the screws is not touching the plate. You can feel it, like, oh, okay, this is touching it, and go back a little bit. And then in the middle, like a little bit more. And the outer, you just feel this is the edge of it, because the plate needs the guidance so that the whole thing doesn't move on the necks of the screws. Otherwise the plate moves, because this is not like a, what is it called, a 2-point vibrato system with something with blade, switch blade, or what was it called? There's a name for it even, where they have two screws with like a little cut, and it only has two contact points. This is what what is it called? Anybody knows? There's a name for it. I think it's called switchblade or fork knife kind of thing.
I know there's one with a blade in it, but I'm pretty sure it's not switchblade.
Yeah.
Someone will tell us what it's called.
But so this is,
Is it a knife? Not knife edge, huh?
Yeah, or knife edge, something like that. And that's done to make sure that the vibrato is not moving on the necks of the screws, like in height, because this is, if that happens, you will have already intonation issues or tuning instability.
Yeah, Bo James says Wilkinson Trem. Yeah, he uses that system.
Ah, see?
I know that for a fact, but what the name is,
yeah,
I'm not sure. Swiss Army knife.
yeah, we're getting closer.
We're getting closer. We'll get there.
Yeah.
I don't know if the guys can see it, but you have the screw missing from the D string.
Yeah, because
there. Does that have any effects whatsoever?
It was a problem on that particular guitar, so I took it off, and then now I have to remove it on any of my signature guitars, on any of my guitars, because Trev Wilkinson said this is my trademark. I mean, he told me it's.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Every
missing
blue
on the vintage as well.
Yeah, every blue guitar has that missing screw. Maybe it's important for the tone. Who knows?
Knife edge.
Knife edge.
Well, Sally says it's knife edge, so I'm happy with that.
Sounds very plausible for me. Plausible or whatever.
Yeah, plausible. Yeah, that's another YouTube video someone should make. What does it do if you put another screw in a blue guitar D-string slot?
Whoa! It makes a totally different tone, I'm sure. Yeah, but again, so this is the way how I set up these screws, and these screws are critical. If that's wrong, you never get your guitar, your bridge in tune. So this is a very important thing. Next thing is you have the springs. I have this theory that I have this angled slightly because I believe in my stupid theory that the low strings, the big strings, have a bit more tension. Maybe that's stupid, but I've done it like that. I think it doesn't matter, but this is the way I do it.
And this is what you get in the Thomas Blug signature vintage models as well.
It's definitely a feel thing, because what happens with springs have a certain tension, and since this one is kind of torn already more than the other ones, it is a different tension, and it adds up with the other ones. So you can feel it if you have a straight one, or yeah, it's a feel thing. If
Yeah.
it's a sound and tuning thing, I don't know,
Yeah.
but definitely it feels different. If you have only two springs, it's way softer. It's kind of, you can play this Steve Y. How do you do it? You can play something. It goes like a lot more, and three strings is not that much. Okay, the other thing which I found very, very important is that the nut and there is no friction. There, this is why you have to cut the nut the right way. Why there shouldn't be a steep angle. It should be like only and this is why I raised the string tree. I don't like when the strings go like this and a string tree down and up again to the tuners. That's why I just lifted that a little bit. And it's actually loose. It can move.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So when I use my whammy bar, the whole thing can move just by an inch, and that helps.
Yeah, maybe we can get a close up of that.
Yeah. Can we? Well, can I get closer? Camera. Okay. So this is the string tree, and I used, I have this cheesy. This is from the PCBs in amplifiers. This is how you did mount them. There's a plastic thing, and this kind of tree here is not even 100% fixed, so it can kind of move. And when I use the whammy bar and the tension, I can feel that. I can feel. Maybe you can even. I don't know if you know. You can't see it. I can see that the strings are moving here, just very little bit behind the nut, and this is not tight, so it can move a little bit, and that helps. On the other hand, the string, when it comes to the tuner, this needs to be 100% tight. So fewer windings, three windings here, three windings there, one, two, kind of. Okay, the low E string has only one, but this has like two or three windings, and it's like I bend them and I put them this way, so it's kind of a locking thing, and that's important. So tight control on the tuners, a lot of room to move, and no friction. So, and then of course, if you have a lubricant or whatever, graphite, blah blah blah, oil, gun oil, that's what you can use, and it works.
Yeah.
I think I managed to get almost any vintage style tremolo to stay in tune in that usable range.
Yeah. Of course, when it comes to more affordable guitars, these can be some of the biggest problems, right? Using the vibrato system, you'll go straight out of tune, and you might need to put a lot of work into a system like that to get it playable.
Yeah, the question is when I look at this thing here, if the construction is actually, well, if the design is optimum, that's the good thing about my vintage signature models. The guy Trevor Wilkinson who designed that, he's an expert on that.
Yeah.
And he even improved the vintage design to like a few neat things. One is to get the whammy bar out there, and you can even tighten the action of the whammy bar. There is a little screw here on that side that you can tighten, so you can decide on how it feels, how fast it moves or not.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And then he has a nice edge here, so the contact of that plate with the body is right. He has the perfect material in the saddles already. In this price range, the block is not high end.
Yeah.
But all the rest, he knows what is the best on a vintage tremolo.
Yeah.
And therefore, you get a lot of for that kind of money. Of course, there's next level, but that costs more.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it can be done. And I'm gigging with this guitar, all my Hendrix shows, and I use this as a spare guitar a lot. And it's and when I travel, I travel a lot with this guitar, and I always play that guitar, and tuning is never an issue. So can be done. The Fender mainly refers to as 2-point tremolo. Yeah, thanks, Helmut. Helmut Guitar, thanks for the 2-point. Of course, it makes a lot of sense if you have only 2 contact points.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's only these 2 contact points that transfer the whole vibration of the string to the body. That's not a tone. That's not vintage. It's mechanically, especially under the criteria of tuning stability, probably a lot better. But vintage tone is different. That's why I like vintage. Yeah, I like that tone.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, also, it comes down to personal taste, doesn't it?
Yes, sure.
I mean, everything we've talked about, it's all down to what you personally prefer as a player, in terms of feel, in terms of sound.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you are a fan of a specific tone, hey, go for it. And if it's maybe you can make the cheapo tone the new ideal tone.
Yeah.
And the session players of tomorrow have to copy you, get that $50 sound with your $20,000 Strat, and it's not possible. Shit. We have to create a very expensive pedal to get it. Yeah, but yeah, if it makes you feel good, it is good. And as we could hear, there's a lot of quality. You can play with today almost any instrument.
Yeah.
There's only exceptions to that, but the building quality and it's amazing what you get for money.
Yeah.
These days. I remember cheap guitars in the early 80s to be nightmares. They looked so scheiße. Headstocks and Luxor, maybe was before your time.
Yeah.
Here in Germany, they had Luxor guitars. I don't know, maybe it was the beginning, and yeah, ugly knobs, ugly, and I don't know. Even though I don't know about the tone, but it hurt. So, I guess, oops, yeah, time is running out. Shall we have another question? Or what, Thomas, which are the best saddles for replacing a Strat saddle on my 62 Strat? The old saddle has stripped threads, which means the threads
It
is...
means someone's used them too much and
Yeah.
you can't shred them anymore.
I have done a test about this subject, and these cheap vintage saddles are coming very, very close to the good old Fender stuff. Exactly this one. And you could buy modern Fender saddles. They are okay too, but they are a little too bright compared to the original ones. If you have a friend with a vintage, get one of these. They are actually really good. I made a test together with Andreas Kloppmann. We put 6 different saddles from different brands, like even, I don't know, titanium and raw vintage. And raw vintage says, we are the best, but they are not the best. And then we had Fender saddles new, original, old ones, and these. And these were the closest. And then we went into the next level and we put the same string. Like I think we had B strings on every, so we could actually hear saddles with the same string. Okay. And then we experimented to treat the saddles with heat, with a heat gun, or
Yeah.
in German Bunsenbrenner.
Bunsen burner.
A real Bunsen burner.
Yeah.
Hey, what, you know? Do we all know Miss Honigtau Bunsenbrenner? That, that, no, that's from, what is it? I think from the Muppet Show. It's one of the names of one of the characters.
Is it?
Honigtau, honey, whatever. Oh, forget it. A fantastic name, Bunsenbrenner. As a kid, I was fascinated about it. So anyway, so we kind of heated them up until they kind of got red, and then have them cool down and compare the sound before and after, and it does change the tone. Yeah. Oh, cool. Recommendation: get another old one.
Yeah. But you know, I also heard that recently Sewer have started using Wilkinson bridges
Yeah.
on newer Strat type
The-
guitars, and that is a, you know, that's a pretty good reputational boost for Wilkinson, isn't it? If they can go on
by the
$3,000
way-
guitars.
By the way, this is the same saddle like on this one, because I talked Trevor into doing that. Like, can you do it authentic for me? And then he said, you know, I've done all the improvements. Now I go back, but I still will do it correct. And yeah, this is what it is. Get one of those. They're right. It needs to be that metal, the right amount of plating and blah 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 to be exactly. It's a critical component. You think maybe I'm crazy? I've been there, and it is important if you want that authentic old sound. It is in the saddles. It's partly, but the saddles are probably a bigger portion of the tone, because this is where the string has the contact, and there's also a resonance in this little bent metal thing. Yeah. And if it's, some people prefer this titanium thing. I think they come from Japan, and I had those on my 61 for a while as well. There is something about it, but then after a while you go back. It's like stainless steel frets. It's like good, but not exactly that tone.
Yeah. Personal trial and error. How many years have you had your old Strat, and how many mods have you done on it?
I bought it when I was 17. This is like decades ago, not yesterday. Like 40. How old am I? You're kind of not quite, but almost. And then mods, I've done a lot. If you have seen old pictures with me, back in my early days, I had I put on a black scratch plate to have a black and white guitar, then with white covers, and then I experimented with 500 kilo ohm pots to get more high end out of the blah blah blah, and then I put in a resistor here and blah, and then I went back with my dummy coil modification, which is now the Bucker switch on these, and it's on all my Strats, so I can reduce the hum when I'm playing with more gain.
Yeah.
And it's part of the tone as well. So that was like the the mods that have that I kept. Here is just what I have that guitar. That's kind of interesting. This one has like two push, and this switches from the classic tone control on the neck and the middle pickup and no tone control on the bridge to a master tone. And even if everything is all the way up, it will change the tone. Let me show you. Where's the other? Ah, okay. Can you hold it for a sec?
Mm-hmm.
So, ouch, sorry.
It's been mentioned a few times in the chat, cryo tuning. Have you ever experimented?
Yep, I played some cryo tuning guitars, which is kind of freezing the guitars, and it actually really changes the tone. I don't like it on the whole guitar. I like it only on certain parts, like the body, but I don't like it on the hardware. So, but hey, it makes the guitar mellow in a way, not as stiff and new, but it can sacrifice a little bit of that dynamic, which I'm not a fan of, you know, so, because I'm all about dynamic. Okay. Okay, so this is all the way up. As you can hear, no dummy coil. That's why we have some. It's master tone, which is now on the bridge pickup. This is the classic one. Classic. Master tone. To me, it's a lot darker. The sparkling. So if you have a master tone Strat, you have that sound. Of course, then you can go in that mid thing with a tone pot. But that kind of quality, this openness, it's 3%, but it's like, yeah, for me, it's like, you know. And that's just putting another 250 kilo ohms versus a 6 kilo ohm in the signal path. It's like, huh? But you can hear it. And this is what I'm after. Sorry. This is why I don't like master tone, because I'm not wanting to sacrifice this sparkle.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with treble bleed, because it's all full. So this is as neutral as it can go. Versus touch of schmatz. But I don't know. Smack or nee. Kiss noise.
Yep.
Okay. Do we
Yeah.
have it for today?
Yeah, so we've talked for 2 hours about all these different things, but in a nutshell, how would you answer that question that we posed at the start of the episode? How do you make a cheap guitar sound more expensive? What's that one crucial piece of advice?
Get a proper setup. Max out what's there by having the neck perfectly straightened. You know, sometimes there's some, when it's not totally straight, you lose potential and it costs nothing. The setup, go to somebody that has the experience he will probably spend half an hour with it or whatever, a few minutes. And you can max out what's already there. And if it's done the right way, it's like, wow, this feels better, this sounds better, and you don't have to change anything. So if you want to go another level, I would have a look into the electronics and see what kind of cable they are using, because cable doesn't cost much. So you can have that original cloth, what is a cloth wire? And some of that plastic wire, if you have some of that available, you can change it and you will improve it. And it's just different wires. Measure the ports. They are also €5, 10. Sometimes if you buy them boutique, CTS, blah blah blah. But if you optimize that, find the right values, match that to your taste, it's a tenner here. It's not much money. So that's what I will do. And then it's probably getting, it depends what the weak points of the guitar is actually. Is it the frets? Is it the pickups? And then if you have found a weak spot where you can improve, do something feasible in a way that the range of the price is not like 3 times the guitar.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy.
Yeah.
And by the way, somebody asked me, do I prefer rosewood or maple? I prefer rosewood on Strats, as you can see. I have 2 maple Strats, but I'm a rosewood guy.
Yeah. But there you go. That's the taste part of it as well. Do what makes you happy. Get inspired by the players who you think sound great.
Yeah.
Try and learn what they did. Listen to what Thomas has said.
And
take some of that advice.
And do anything that connects you better with the instrument.
Yeah.
Because the feel thing is the most winning factor.
Yep.
If you feel great, don't look at the headstock, what brand is on there. If you feel great, and here's the other thing is, if you have in your signal path with your amplifier, no matter what brand, there's some potential with pedals, and they don't need to be a clone Centaur for shit money. No, it can be something very cheap. What was it? The Timmy MXR, that's whatever, 100 or something like that.
Yeah.
That brings your tone at the zone or at the right spot that you like. If you have a pedal like that, that's a big improvement for not so much money.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
Yeah.
And then you have fun and you make yourself and other people happy. Yeah, that's the thing.
And there you go.
Yeah. Next week we will have probably something pre-recorded because I'm on tour again with Ben Granfeld. I will maybe shoot some snippets here and there and get something going, but at the usual time I'll be on stage in Hahn, Red Rooster in Hahn, wherever that is. For those, I can give you my tour dates. Who want to see me? I'm more in the North German area this time. Where's my own posts? I have forgotten where I am. Mehr. So Friday is Verdol. Saturday is Krefeld. Sunday and Monday is Studio. That means the 8th is Oberhausen. The 9th is Hahn, which is Wednesday. The 10th is Ibbenbüren. The 11th is Tönisforst, wherever that is. And the 12th is Bremerhaven, TSG Halle. Yeah, you can find the tour dates on Facebook. And so if you want to see me with my Strat and maybe my vintage or BluGuitar Strats, I probably no, not the gold one.
Oh, okay.
It's too good for me.
Ah.
It's But you know, the thing about the gold makes me think to make a gold top Strat with PAF humbuckers. I always wanted a Strat with 2 humbuckers. Like Iron Bollock had one. And now, yeah. So that's kind of my first attempt prototype. That's cool. Cool. So, thanks for watching. And yeah, there'll be some surprises next week. As I said, I can't make it in person because, yeah. But see you next week, same place, same. Take care, man. Cheers. Bye bye.